Okay, welcome to wesleygospel.com. I'm going to go over what I personally believe is the key to financial growth. Um, it's not an easy perspective to arrive at, although at the same time it's pretty simple. Also, time tested as well. Here's the question: what is the key to personal financial growth? Answer: having multiple jobs and multiple bank accounts. That is the answer to that question. Uh, you might say, well, that might not be the answer for you know for everyone, um, but it might be the answer for others. Well, no, I would have to say that's the answer for everyone, because even if you are really well off, let's say you work at a job that pays you a 100K paycheck. Okay, you just have this one job and it's so amazing. And you have this 100K paycheck. Well, even if that person was to get a side job, a side hustle, and get another bank account or two, that person could increase his financial growth. So philosophically and intellectually and financially, the best way to experience financial growth is by having at least two jobs um, per person and two bank accounts per person. And when I say bank accounts, I mean probably what I would mean is that one checking account is with Bank of America and the other checking account is with Wells Fargo from two separate banks. Um, and that the primary checking account is your budgeting account, it's your bill spending account, and you can split it up into, you know, the Bank of America account is split up into 8 different categories, different budgeting categories for your bills and expenses and stuff. And this is like where most of your mental and financial energy is focused on, right? Divvying up your primary paycheck into different spending categories within this primary bank account. But then you've got this other bank account with a completely different company, with a completely different bank, and it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. You only occasionally look at it, and this is where you're going to try to build a pile. The Bible says, "He that saves money little by little makes it grow." And so, to me, um, this is where you see in ancient times, it's definitely possible that they did this. That they, Jesus talks about this in Luke 6. Oh, Siri. Uh, better get this right, where he's talking about putting money in the bank to let it collect interest. Luke 19. Well, they would have had separate banks, and so it's definitely possible that people in the ancient world used separate banks for separate purposes. Because if you have the money pile that you're trying to save, I would put it in a checking account because that means you can use it easier. Savings accounts can get kind of bureaucratic, um, and there could be more fees associated with them and stuff. The objective isn't to say, well, this is going to be a savings account or a checking account. The objective is to get it out of sight, out of mind, so you don't squander your money. You allow the pile to build. You're not budgeting it. You're not touching it. You're just allowing the number to get higher, right? So that's why the second bank is necessary for this other checking account so that you can build a savings thing. And that the purpose of the side hustle is to build up that pile of money in that other bank over there. All right, and in today's time, side hustles can take on many different formats. Um, thriftbooks.com has a really great um, outlay of the Entrepreneur Press startup series, and you can see how many, booklets and manuals there are on different types of entrepreneurial activities that people could get themselves involved in. But I could just say off the top of my head that side hustles can be found um, in a number of ways. There's a really great website called millennialmoney.com, and he's the side hustle guy, Grant Sabatier, and he has a lot of different job categories on there for side hustlers, and with the way remote work is today with the computers, I would personally recommend letting your primary job on one computer desk be a remote job full time, and then let your secondary job be, again, a remote job, so you don't have to commute with your car. Now, if you want to think outside of that, that confining limitation, you can be my guest. Maybe you want to start a shop of some type somewhere. The point is that uh, you have one job for your budgets and your incremental payments and your paychecks and your monthly payments and whatever. And then you've got this other side hustle job. And this side hustle job is the person you're really, really transparent with. All right, you don't have to be super uber transparent with your primary job. All your primary job, you look at your primary job and you think to yourself, what they don't know won't hurt them, right? You put the priority on them that if they want you to be in 100 meetings, you're going to be in 100 meetings with them, right? But the side hustle guys are like your clients, even though they might take on the form of a W-2 at times, but you're 100% transparent with what's going on here with these second people. And you will find that these secondary job people, there's more of them out there than you can possibly imagine. They're usually very small businesses that just need some extra help. So you can say, look, I want to work with you in my free time so I can make some extra money and save some extra money. And they'd be like, I see what you mean. And they're willing to work with you. And they're also willing to work with you on the fact that your availability might be limited. You can't go to 100 meetings with these side hustle people, right? And they're still willing to work with you, right? Those people can help you to build a savings account in that second bank over there. And as long as they pay through Zelle or something, and you can confirm whenever you invoice them, you can confirm that you received a payment, dude, you'll be able to save money. That's way better than playing the stock market with chance and fluctuating monetary values and trying to be some sort of a guru. Dude, this is the old school way. They called it building a pile back in the 1800s. This is the old way. And they used to avoid the stock market back then. And they used to just focus on this, building a pile. Back in the 1600s, it was called having two callings. It was also called having two trades. And if anything else, if the second trade wasn't to be viewed as a means of saving money, then at the very least it was viewed as a backup plan in case you lost your first job for some reason. And in the 1500s, that was the mentality as well. So this goes way back, way back. The side hustle idea is really old. It's hundreds of years old. It provides financial security, and it provides a way for you to save money above and beyond your normal everyday bill-paying budget. And it can be hard to figure this out in your own particular case because there are specifics to each individual worker that do not exist, and you can't really throw out broad sweeping generalizations. But this is a broad sweeping generalization, and that is two different companies, two different jobs, and two different banks, and two different checking accounts, and that the primary checking account is used for slicing up a paycheck that is stable for your primary company, and it's a W-2 job with benefits, and you slice it up into 8 different directions for budgeting purposes. And then that second one is just this pile that just keeps building and growing and growing. And that's that second thing, that's the financial growth thing. It's the side hustle money being dropped into a second bank and not being touched for months and months and months. Just letting it to just keep on dropping in there. This is old, dude. This goes back 500 years at least into the Puritan times. This is the way they did it. And I haven't studied the medieval times, but I'm inclined to think that they did the same thing back then too. So, like in the Catholic medieval times. But 2 trades, 2 callings, 2 jobs. But think of the first as an actual job. Think of the second as a side hustle. And also think of the second as a short-term gig to yet to be replaced by another and another and another. So that the side hustle is not necessarily permanent, but the first one is. The first one is more of a demanding type job where you could be in endless meetings. There might be insurance benefits, W-2s, and HR managers and stuff. Whereas the second one, it might be like a one-stop, one man show, a one-horse operation with 2 or 3 employees at most. The first one might have like 30 employees, but the side hustle company might have like 1, 2, maybe 3 employees tops. So this is usually how, in my observation, how things work. A study of the way things work. It says in Ecclesiastes, this is taught in Ecclesiastes 4. I'm going to go to Ecclesiastes 4 here for a moment. If you could follow with me there. This is actually very clearly taught in Ecclesiastes 4 through the husband and wife team, So in Ecclesiastes 4, Ecclesiastes 4, 9 to 12. Very clear teaching here. And this is Solomon talking. Ecclesiastes 4, 9 to 12. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Now, I believe that this is a mistranslation when it talks about, pity the man and it's a friend. I don't believe it's talking about a friend. I think it's talking about the wife. Because the next verse, Ecclesiastes 4:11, talks about lying down together and keeping each other warm. And we know that Solomon was not a homosexual, right? We're not talking about 2 guys lying together in the same bed. This is talking about a husband and a wife. So I personally believe the 2 who are better than 1 is the husband and the wife team having a good return for their work. So the husband has a job, the wife has a job. They are a dual income family and they have a better return for their work. In other words, return on their investment of labor. They have more income than if only the husband was working. Now, then he goes down in verse 10, Ecclesiastes 4:10. If one falls down, in other words, if the husband loses his job, his friend can help him up. I believe that's a mistranslation. I believe that means his wife can help him up. His wife's job, his wife's paycheck can help him up if he loses his paycheck. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Pity the single man who loses his paycheck and has no wife to help him with her paycheck. Now it talks about them lying down together to keep each other warm. Being single in bed at night, you could be cold. Now it talks about if somebody breaks into your house, that the husband and the wife can gang up on the guy. So I believe that's teaching dual income, the husband and the wife, particularly not through saving money, but particularly as a security against job loss, right? So that was kind of like the initial thought with William Perkins on the Treatise of the Vocations, where he talks about uh, a man who goes out to hunt and he has a bow and arrow. And if his bow string snaps, he's got a spare bowstring in his quiver and he could pull it out and restring his bow. And he says it's good for every man to have two strings to his bow, right? In other words, the bowstring represents job number one. The backup bowstring represents job number two. All right, so you always have two jobs. You always have two bowstrings to ensure that you're going to be able to get some game when your hunt is over. If your first bowstring snaps, you can restring your bow with your second bowstring and definitely get some deer before you go home, right? Well, hunting is a great analogy of the way husbands are for their families. They have to find work, they have to hunt work to bring home the bacon, to bring home food for their family. They have two bowstrings, two jobs operating. If not just one job for the husband and one job for the wife, then two jobs for the husband at the then we're going to do it that way. You know, at the very least, the idea is that the second job is a backup plan in case job number one experiences job loss. But I will say this, if you don't need job number two as a backup plan, what can you do in the meantime while you're firing on all 8 cylinders on both of these things? Well, you can use job number two to build up a savings account, and job number one to live frugally and just budget your expenses. God bless you out there. This is John with WesleyGospel.com.